sorry. Had to move the fan. Last video. Let's finish out the album. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Justin, and today we are finishing out our album listen of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis, released in 1974, with side 4 of the album. So today we're going to be listening to the songs The Colony of Slippermen, Ravine, The Light Lies or Dies Down on Broadway, Riding the Scree, In the Rapids, and finally with It. Seriously, I hope that you guys have enjoyed the album list, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed the videos, myself, the music. I've been having a great time. It seems that most of you have been having a great time as well, especially because we reached the 15K subscriber goal. So at least a certain amount of you out there are enjoying the videos. Soon I'll reveal the next subscriber goals in a separate video. I'm still finalizing the details on that, but that should be coming up relatively soon.
Completely random side note.
I was driving today on my way home. As I was driving, I'm driving down the road. It's a straight stretch. Some grass on the right, some grass on the left in the median. In the median, I saw up ahead a bunch of vultures. Naturally, there was something dead over there, in this case, a deer. And there are some vultures on the right side, kind of bouncing back and forth across the road. And as I'm driving, I'm coming up, and I can't really slow down too much. You guys kind of see where this is heading. But at the last second, one of the vultures comes from the right side and decides to fly over to the left side. But I can't stop. But at the last second, he turned back around, so he kind of stopped on the side of my car. And I definitely tapped him a little bit. I definitely tapped him. Now, I looked in the rearview mirror, and it seemed like he just kind of fluttered and flew away. It seemed like he was okay. But yeah, vulture, you got to make better decisions. You made a squirrel kind of decision there. Let's get back to the music. Hope that you guys are having an amazing day. Hope that you've enjoyed the past few videos. I hope that you've enjoyed like most of the videos, but specifically the past few. It's actually been 2 days since the last recording session with side 3, and in that time I used to edit, the other videos and kind of work on those a little bit. And you know what? These are some long videos. Thank you for watching them. I know that I talk a lot in a lot of them. I know I come up with random things that have possibly nothing to do with the actual music itself, but thank you for listening and hopefully enjoying my ramblings. Now, let's get into the songs. You can join me on Twitter. You can join me in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for the support on Patreon, because that has helped a lot in allowing me the time, really, to be able to put into the channel, into bigger videos, into doing the long song Saturdays, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can join me in all those places. And without further ado, let's get into it. This is The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, side 4.
Till I came upon this dirty street, beckons him to leave.
I'm not sure at this point what it is, but whatever it is, they brought it. Guys, we finally finished the album, and I mean, Genesis, they really brought it. I mean, what else do you want me to say? All right, so I have to go through all the songs and everything, but on the last song, at least, that's like the best way to end an album. They ended it on a really, really energetic note. Phil's drumming. I made some faces in some other parts of different songs, but Phil's drumming in this song, his hand is just going crazy on the ride and all the cymbals and everything, and Rutherford, his bass playing alongside with Phil, is just ruthless. Ruthless Rutherford. Rutherford the Ruthless. That's his Viking name. And I mean, yeah, he kills it on this. Peter is always singing his heart out. Hackett is providing a lot of melody. And Tony Banks does a huge... Ooh, did I just spit in there or something? Tony Banks does a huge job throughout these tracks, especially in the first few off of this particular side. Yeah. Alright, I have a question for you guys. I have a question for specifically the fans of Genesis that don't like this album. If you like Genesis, but you don't care for this album too much, do you like Supper's Ready? The only reason I'm asking is because throughout me listening to this, and kind of what I had mentioned before in like, I guess, a few videos back, but I feel like each side of this album is really just like a Supper's Ready. Supper's Ready is obviously one 20-minute epic or whatever, and it is built of many different parts. They just happen to put it in one song. these are split into songs and, you know, split into different sides. But I feel like you're just getting a double album full of 4 Supper's Readies, basically. So do you feel like Supper's Ready is more cohesive? Do you feel like Genesis were doing maybe a bit too much and like some of the album has a little bit of filler in it? Or do you just not like, I don't know, certain aspects of it? I'm just curious, and I mean this in a kind and wanting to know spirit, not in like a mean spirited, oh, how can you not like this? I'm genuinely just curious, just because I feel like if you like Supper's Ready, you would like this album. I don't know. What do I know? All right, so hear me out. Coming back to the Slipperman, the colony of the Slippermen. Story-wise, I got no idea what's going on. I was following the lyrics and I don't have any clue what's going on. I kind of caught up to the story in the next few songs and made sense of that, but I got to read about the story on this one. Regardless, it opens up really, really abstract, probably with the most abstract section that I've heard so far in the album. It's just like a weird, dissonant playing, and this sounds like maybe a clavichord or a harpsichord, but like with pitch bending or something, right? Like it sounds out of tune. Like you can hear the melody, but it's like as soon as it's played, it goes out of tune, or just, I don't know. It's a really interesting way to bring in the last side of the album. I think it's actually pretty cool to hear them do something like this. It's a nice transition because whereas the last song was also very low, very quiet, very mellow, that one was just like melody, melody, melody. This is showing you still the same low, mellow side, just dissonance, dissonance, dissonance. Say that 5 times fast. Dissonance, dissonance, dissonance. I can't do it. And then you have this long pause that occurs after about a minute and a half or so. And then Peter comes in like a jump scare. He says bubbity bup. That's scary. Maybe Slipperman is like Slender Man. He just pops up when you're not looking for him. I like this rapid delivery right here. It's a nice build-up in this section. This song is just, once again, kind of like the other intro songs into each side. Just a nice setting up piece, for lack of a better word. Good rhythm, good melody. I like Tony's kind of wonky sounds on the keys there. It carries a very light and yet kind of dark tone to it. It's not to be taken seriously, but it's not to be taken too lightly either. Then you get the actual vocals from the Slipperman himself, I think. Is this actually from... I think it's the Slipperman. Yeah, it's not the Doctor, I don't think, at this point. Yeah, it's the Slipperman talking. I had to read it real quick. I told you, this song lost me a little bit. I would imagine that in a modern band doing this kind of song, that deep, raspy voice that Peter, I would assume, is doing, that would be like death growls. Woo, but Tony breaks out with the synth. That is cool. I think that this part is just so cool because, once again, it's a very, very quiet atmosphere. Phil's drumming is like he's just relentless in what he's doing right there. He is just crazy. And then Peter, he's just very like to himself. He's singing very personal, very intimate. So it's really cool, this weird contrast between just how fast tempo the drums are and the rhythm section is compared to, for example, the actual melody from like Hackett, Tony at that point, and Peter especially. And then Tony gets another solo right after that. And then I actually really like the ending of this song. The chords specifically that they use, they feel really grand and they feel like a release after some kind of like pent up emotion. Change again. And they bring it back up to a lighter tone. It's like they dip into the darkness. The skin's all covered in slimy lumps with lips that slide across each chin. Ooh. His twisted limbs like rubber stamps are waved in welcome, say please join in. I don't know. Sounds a little bit sus. I don't think I want to join this guy. My grip must be flipping because his handshake keeps slipping. My hopes keep on dipping and his lips keep on smiling all the time. No, I'm getting stranger danger vibes from this guy. And he says, the Slipperman, we like you, have tasted love. Don't be alarmed at what you see. You yourself are just the same as what you see in me. Interesting that he says that. So, as we know from the previous few tracks a little while ago, the Lamia, our boy Rail had been involved with some snakes. So now that he's had a proper, for lack of a better word, I guess, like sexual experience, he's meeting this Slipperman who's saying, you're just like me. You've tasted love. Don't be alarmed at what you see, because this is what you are now. So it's interesting how, I don't know. Somehow that experience is reflected in the Slipperman, and it's it's a possibility that Rail could become like this. I don't know. Something, I feel like I'm missing something. It's kind of like how, for example, with the story of Adam and Eve, sometimes the fruits, the forbidden fruit, is interpreted as like sex. So I'm kind of getting the idea like that, where that forbidden fruit like led to the fall of man, so to speak. So kind of like Rail's experience with the Lamia is leading to his fall, and how he sees himself in this slipperman. I don't know, guys. I told you this one made me lost. And then the next section is entitled "A Visit to the Doctor," which is a part of this song. You're in the colony of slippermen. There's no who, why, what, or when. You get out if you've gotten the gripe. To see Dr. Diaper, reformed sniper, he'll whip off your windscreen wiper. Okay. From the next few lines, I'm kind of getting the idea that basically he's getting
He's going to be castrated.
I think. I don't know. I think. Maybe. He's going to whip off your windscreen wiper? Okay. And then he's with his brother John, because he says, John and I are able to face the doctor on his marble table. He said, understand, Rail. That's the end of your tale. I like that. The end of your tale, like your story, like, you know, the story that's going on, but also the end of his... I'm guessing. Don't delay, dock the thing. I watch his countdown timer tick. Okay. You want to get out of that thing. You want to get off of that table, man. He places the number into a tube. It's a yellow plastic shoobadoob. He says, though your fingers may tickle, you'll be safe in our pickle. This is where I kind of get lost. Because then this big black bird comes down, brings darkness and night. He flies right down, gives me one hell of a fright. He takes the tube right out of my hands. I don't know what the tube is. I think I've kind of lost it myself at that point. He says, look here, John, I gotta run. I need you now. You going to come? He says to me, now can't you see? Where the raven flies, there's jeopardy. All right, at this point, the raven, it takes this tube, which is carrying, maybe his manhood, is carrying the tube away, and Rail's like, John, we gotta go, we gotta get it back. And John's like, all right, but there's kind of danger that way. Even as he's talking about chasing this raven, he's talking about the pain that the doctor has given him, basically. He says, I'm in the agony of slipper pain. I pray my undercarriage will sustain. The chase is on, the pace is hot, but I'm running so very hard with everything I've got. He leads me to an underpass, though it narrows, he still flies very fast. When the tunnel stops, catch sight of the tube just as it drops. And then I guess the raven accidentally drops, or maybe purposely, drops the tube into a river. And at the end, he says a few words. He says, ache, like he's aching. Make, not sure. Lake, because it dropped into a lake. Slake, not sure. Wake, perhaps he's in the wake of trying to chase this tube. Snake, he's recalling the memories, his menage a trois with the snakes. So now as we move into the next track, Ravine, which Ravine is basically just a canyon or a big gorge, you know, in the earth. So I think that wind-like sound is very appropriate. This has a very dusty western vibe to it in all of its atmosphere. I think this is really cool. It sounds like a theremin-like sound. I always say theremin sound when I hear like that kind of sound. Can't help it. And then even in here, it sounds like you get some echoes of the last song of Slipperman. I'm not sure if that's what it is, but it sounds like you hear some kind of vibes from it kind of echoing and resounding into this piece. But this is more just a transitional piece, kind of carrying you along musically, of course, but as well within the story. And some of the sounds besides wind could also be interpreted as like rushing water, as, you know, I believe this tube was dropped into a lake or a river of some sort. So one way or another, this tube is lost. Moving into The Light Dies Down on Broadway. Even before listening to it, at least myself, I'm already expecting a reprise of, you know, the title track of the album. I'm expecting it. But the way that they did it was, I feel, really brilliant. Because they didn't just drop you straight into the original melody, and it wasn't as expected. They kind of took you around a few bends before eventually getting to that main line that we are expecting. This time just switched around into this titles track. This doesn't sound as excited as the title track. So that's a really cool later on when it comes back into that. I just think that that's a really cool way to reprise the song. I think it sounds great. Bring it back, call to mind the things that you heard in the past, but present it in a slightly altered and different way. They do. And then getting to the lyrics on this one, we just get a continuation, really. Obviously, every track gets a continuation of the story. But now he's walking along the canyon, walking along the gorge, And as he's walking along the gorge, he says, "Subway sounds, the sounds of complaint, the smell of acid on his gun of paint, as it carves out anger in the blood-red band, destroyed tomorrow by an unknown hand, my home." Then he questions himself. He says, "Is this the way out from an endless scene, or just an entrance to another dream? The light dies down on Broadway." And then, continuing the story, he says, "The gate is fading now, but open wide, but John is drowning, I must decide." How did John end up in the water? I actually have no idea. John is in the water now, and Rail has to make a choice between either saving John or going through this portal, whatever it is, to get back into the real world, or at least get out of this nightmare that he's stuck in. So I think that that's really cool how he's given a choice between the two. And I like how musically and lyrically it feels like the portal's open. This makes so much sense, this song specifically, as a reprise of the title track. Because the title track, that's where he went through some sort of portal or something happened, some event, which led him from the real world into this whole crazy conundrum that he's stuck in. So it's really, really appropriate that a reprise of that track, which marked his transition, is also marking the choice to go back into the real world or to stay. Like, that is really, really strong songwriting. That is, to me, honestly, a little mind-blowing because I just thought of that right now. I didn't think of it while I was listening to the music, but that is really cool. Now, he says here that, like you said, he must decide to, save John or stay in this forsaken place. At the end, at the last line, he says, "He makes for the river and the gate is gone, back to the void where it came from, and the light dies down on Broadway." So really cool, once again, how they switch even the title of the track, to "The Light Dies Down on Broadway." The light representing, of course, that portal, like that light to freedom dying down on Broadway. But also, and perhaps, Rail's chance of getting back to the real world. That light, that hope, has now gone away. He sacrificed his freedom for his brother. Do you guys hear a funky bass line? Because I do. "Tony, what are you doing?" means I have no idea. To be honest, the first thing that I think of is in the movie Avatar, when they're riding those dragon bird pterodactyl-like things. I don't know why, but I think that is a scree, and I'm like, oh, he's riding the scree. It's the Na'vi riding the scree. I know it's not. It's just the first thing I think of. If I could use riding the scree as a euphemism for just how awesome Tony's playing here, Tony be riding that scree. That is so cool. That long note, adding to the slight eeriness of this track. Because rhythmically, it's bouncy, it's fun, it's catchy, right? Ba-bum, 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 and that slight offbeat, that's really cool. But at this point, we're back in this nightmare world. So to me, that eerie kind of sound going on kind of represents, okay, you're here to stay. You're not getting out. So even though you've sacrificed that little bit of hope you had to save your brother, which is a noble cause, you're stuck here now. So there's, yes, a bounciness to it. There's an adventure-like tone in the rhythm of the song. But there's also the reminder, like, this is a hopeless situation. Abandon hope, all you who enter. But yeah, Tony pretty much dominates the whole first half of this track before Peter comes in and provides more narration to the story and continuation. I like that dual layered sound that Tony has. That's cool. Now, getting to the lyrics on this one before I talk a little bit more musically. Now he's basically making the decision not only to save his brother, but to actually jump into this ravine to go save his brother, as dangerous as it may be. There's not many lyrics here, but he says, "Struggling down the slope, there's not much hope. I begin to try to ride the scree, but the rocks are tumbling all around me." So when he says ride the scree, is he meaning like he's running along the edge? He's trying to ride the scree? He's trying to... I have no idea. If I want John alive, I've got to ditch my fear, take a dive, while I've still got my drive to survive. Evil Knievel, you got nothing on me, which is funny. And then Here I Go, in which the track jumps off from there just as much as Rail does. The music at this point, to me, has a very adventurous feeling. You can envision Rail running along this cliffside, following his brother, perhaps in the river, drowning, like they were saying, and getting ready to jump in. The music, the drums specifically kind of quiet down, as if preparing for a sort of jump off. You get the return of these side percussions, weird strange sounds. This is mountainous. This sounds like the mountain is falling around Rail while he's jumping to go save his brother. Now, I have no idea what made them use the choice of like a pitched up voice. It's kind of like how when I'm doing my videos, every once in a while I'll use a pitched up voice.
Probably like I'm doing right now, just to make the point and make it sound funny to you guys.
I'm curious, what made them, what was their decision behind doing that here? Here I go. That wasn't pitched up, that was just me. Here I go. And then when it transitions into this ending, where it gets a lot quieter and just a lot more slowed down, to me this is him in the water, right? Like, that adventure, that big grand climax is done. Now he's in the water trying to actually reach and save his brother. Which makes sense because the next song is called In the Rapids, so, you know. Now for a song called In the Rapids, this song is actually pretty calm. I was expecting something a little more tumultuous after the story that was built up to this point, the title of the track, but this is actually a calm before a celebratory storm, as it ends with it. Now listening to Peter's very, very calm and composed singing here, his delivery, I feel like this is Rail being strictly and solely focused on rescuing his brother, even as the rapids may be total calamity around him. And several times, or at least in different moments, he talks about like he's being taken down by the undertow. You know, he spiraled down the riverbed. Like, it's not anything good or mellow going on around him, story-wise. But I feel like it's just the focus of saving his brother that's really why he's so calm. Because he has one singular goal. And the song even breathes determination. As you listen to all the music around it, Hackett's very collected guitar tone, those powerful, deep bass tones. Hey, let's back it up to that point because I want you guys to listen to just how awesome that break was by Phil, but then how Hackett climbs right off of it with that sweet, sweet guitar. Let's back it up just a second. Hold on, right there. Yeah, see how Hackett provides that emotional cry right afterwards? Sounds like really like melodic sliding. This is a really, really awesome climax. It's almost like the last test, whether all of this story is a test or not. It feels like the last and final test. It's just him and his brother having to survive. There's nothing weird at this moment going on. They're just stuck in this river trying to survive. So just getting into the lyrics a little bit here. Moving down the water, John is drifting out of sight. It's only at the turning point that's how you find out how to fight. In the cold, feel the cold all around and the rush and crashing of water. And he talks about striking out to reach you. He's just trying to reach John, as we kind of talked about. Taken down by the undertow. I'm spiraled down the riverbed. My fire is burning low. He's running out of energy. Perhaps he's getting close to even dying. His fire is running low. Kind of like a Charmander. Once its tail fire runs out, you know, it dies. Catching hold of a rock that's firm. I'm waiting for John to be carried past. We hold together, and shoot the rapids fast. Okay, now I'm kind of getting the idea. Him riding the scree, he was running along the canyon. He was running along the canyon edge. He got to a point at the turn of the river, jumped in the river, or maybe he wasn't even jumping in the river. He might have just been standing at the edge. No, he had to be jumping in the river. He says, I'm spiraling in the riverbed. And then John is being washed towards him, so he grabs John as he's rushing past. Okay, now I'm getting a clearer picture. But at the end, he says, and when the waters slow down, the dark and the deep have no one left to keep. Hang on, John, we're out of this at last. Something's changed. That's not your face. It's mine. It's mine. So, I feel like we're getting an M. Night Shyamalan twist over here. Something's changed. That's not your face. It's mine. So, was John never there? Is this like Fight Club? Sorry, spoilers. it's like multiple personality disorder. Like, John was never there. It was always Rail? Or has John changed? I mean, it says John's changed. That's not your face. It's mine. So it's like he's looking at himself. I don't know. I'm lost on this part. I'm a little slightly lost on this part. It's my first listen. Give me a chance. Give me a chance. So was John him? So, because one of the moments I think back to is when Rail was in that chair before going into that toy factory. And John was there, remember, in the cage. John's there, he faces him, and then he turns away. He cries a tear of blood, then he turns around and leaves. So, I don't know. Let's move on to the next song, and maybe we'll make some sort of sense out of it. Okay, I know I talked about it right after, but it has like some of the best everything. Phil, technical on these drums, just riding it out, riding the scree. Rutherford at the bass. Hackett, powerful riffs and leads there, in the beginning especially. Peter has such a unique voice. That's really cool what Hackett and Tony are doing right there. Really nice tone. This is cool. That's cool because structurally, that sounds like the recurring motif of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. You know, the lamb, you know, that part, you know, when it rises up. It's just those lyrics aren't there. But it sounds like it would be the same thing. So I think that's cool if that's what I'm hearing and if that's right. How they brought that back for a third time. Jeez, Phil, calm down. Phil, slow down just a second. You're gonna get a speeding ticket if you keep playing like that. Along with that rich depth of the bass, there's some really good melodies going on by Steve and Tony. That's cool. I like that synth rise on the end of that part right there, which just makes that part feel grander. And then the deep bass. I mean, like, it all just comes together really well. To me, it's an epic conclusion to the album. I feel like it ties off. I don't know if it ties off loose ends. I don't know. I'll have to figure that part out. But at least musically, it ties up loose ends. So they're kind of taking a cue from Faith No More with their song Epic, when it's talking about it.
What is it?
When it's cold, it comes slow. It is warm, just watch it grow. All around me, it is here, it is now. Just a little bit of it can bring you up or down. Like the supper, it is cooking in your hometown. Supper is always ready. It is chicken, it is eggs, it is in between your legs, it is walking on the moon, leaving your cocoon. So, this journey that Rail/John took, whatever it is, at the end, he's understanding it. What is it? I don't know what it is, but he makes references to what it could be. For example, when he says leaving your cocoon. So we get a reference to that song. A cocoon, as I mentioned before, probably extensively and too much so, represents change and transition. So him referencing that again makes me think that he's once again, like, his realization of whatever it is almost like getting out of that cocoon. He's a knowledgeable butterfly right now. It is the jigsaw, it is purple haze, it never stays in one place, but it's not a passing phase. It is in the singles bar, in the distance of the face, it is in between the cages, once again a reference, it is always in a space. So I just like that how through his journey, he's learned something. I don't know what he's learned, maybe you guys know what he's learned, but he's learned something. Obviously the song name is It, but I like how it is used, kind of like a riddle, you know, it is this, but it doesn't do this. It is this, but it doesn't do this. What is it? When you eat ripe fruit, you see everything alive. It is inside spirit with enough grit to survive. If you think that it's pretentious, you've been taken for a ride. Look across the mirror, Sonny, before you choose, decide. It is here, it is now. Well, when he says look across the mirror, Sonny, that's kind of like the ending of the last song when he looked at John and realized it was him. It is real, it is rail. Right, it is him. Maybe it's us. But whatever it is real. It's real. And then the last line, because it's only knock and no wall, but I like it. I'll admit, I got no idea what the last line of the song means. Because it's all knock, like it's all knock, but no one opens the door. Like it's all questions and no answers. I don't know. I have no idea. Regardless, it's a really awesome ending to the album as a whole. Really energetic showstopper. I think the lyrics are great. I think the lyrics are pretty great throughout the whole album, but I think this is a great way to end it, especially after the twist. This is a bit of resolution after a climax like that. Don't mind me. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Okay, so at the end, I'm reading like the last 2 paragraphs or so, actually from the record. It says, once talking about the story, the last song, this is after he sees John's face and realizes it's its own. Rail cannot look away from those eyes, mesmerized by his own image. In a quick movement, his consciousness darts from one face to the other, then back again, until his presence is no longer solidly contained in one or other. In this fluid state, he observes both bodies outlined in yellow, and the surrounding scenery melting into a purple haze. With a sudden rush of energy up both spinal columns, their bodies as well finally dissolve into the haze. All this takes place without a single sunset, without a single bell ringing, and without a single blossom falling from the sky, yet it fills everything with its mysterious, intoxicating presence. It's over to you. Okay. I feel like that didn't help me in understanding exactly what happened. Anyways. I guess that he's stuck in this other world, but he becomes one with everything. Like he understands everything. I don't know. I have no idea. Let me know your thoughts on the ending of the story. Let me know your thoughts on the story as a whole. I would, of course, also want to know your thoughts on the album. But what is your interpretation of what happened in the story? I'll admit, I kind of got lost at this point. I felt I was doing a pretty good job, on my own, of my own interpretation, but, also what the band wanted out of the story. But I got a little lost with the end part. I'm not sure exactly what the ending is or meant, but I would actually really love to hear your guys' interpretation. I don't have anything else to say. I think I've done a lot of talking in this video and probably the past few as well. I cannot thank you enough for watching the videos, for joining me here on the channel. It's still weird to me that, people are watching me and listening to me listen to music, and I don't know, it's this whole thing, right? But with the most sincerity that I can show you, seriously, thank you so much for just being here in the first place. As I mentioned sometimes, if you're new here, if it's your first time, please say hi, introduce yourself. I'd love to say hello to you as well. You can join me on Twitter. You can join me in the comments down below. Dave, thank you so much. If you're watching at this point, thank you so much for sending this over to me. That was really a lovely gift that you sent over. You can join me on Patreon and support the channel that way. But I just hope that you enjoyed this. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the ride. And like I said, soon I'll be revealing the next few subscriber goals, and we'll eventually start working towards those as well. Have a fantastic night. Have a wonderful day. Have a beautiful evening. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.